very next morning, I stood at the north end of Retford Platform 2, waiting for the 0759 service to Aberdeen, hoping and praying that it would be a Deltic on the front.
Next train to Retford Platform 2. Will be the 0759 service to Aberdeen. Calling Doncaster, Selby, Old Darlington, Newcastle, Redmond, Tweedle, Barney,
To my absolute joy, as I watched between the peeling, rotting white fence slabs of Platform 2, Deltic 6, the Fife and Fulfire Yeoman reappeared round the bend to the south and glided into the platform. Oh, the relief! I quickly boarded the front vestibule, which was already packed with a scrum of brammy Deltic bashers who presumably were all on East Midlands Rangers and who all fortunately bailed at Doncaster. As we passed Doncaster Works reception siding, there was an ex-Works Class 31 sitting beside two very sorry-looking Class 24s that were presumably awaiting entry to the works for scrapping. 55006 made light work of the Doncaster stop, the Selby stop and the York stop. There was the usual mix of motive power on view as we passed York Depot, including a very mucky 55005, the Prince of Wales Land Regiment of Yorkshire, and my favourite Deltic, 55007 Pinzer, looking magnificent in the late summer morning sunshine. Before long, the grimy, faded old monster that was Deltic 6 was skirting along the cliff tops of Birdsmouth, overlooking the dark, ominous North Sea, where it looked very much like storms were brewing, rushing her train ever further towards Scotland. Soon number 6 plunged its train into the darkness of Carlton Tunnel and eased us into Edinburgh Waverley Station. As the Deltic was due to be removed from the train at Edinburgh in favour of a rancid duff for the remainder of the journey to Aberdeen, I planned to take a Class 26 or a 27 on a stopping train over the Forth Railway Bridge to Inverkeithing or Kirkcaldy before heading back to Edinburgh for my train home. But first, I had to call Mother to let her know that not only had I arrived in Edinburgh safely, but to let her know that I was actually, in fact, in Edinburgh as planned, and had not somehow ended up in Aberdeen by mistake. As the train came to a halt in Edinburgh Waverley, I jumped off to see the Deltic being uncoupled and going off light engine to Haymarket Depot to be serviced. What looked like a relief train crew arrived and jumped onto the Deltic's front cab, laughing and joking with the departing crew as they jumped down onto the platform. This seemed strange, I thought. And where was the replacement duff to take the train through to Aberdeen? After a few minutes, I walked up to the front cab of the Deltic and I spoke to the driver, who was hanging out of the cab window. "Excuse me, mister.
Listen.
She's coming off here."
No, lads, she's going through to Aberdeen.
"She's going through? Oh, I better get on the train then. I've always wanted to have a Deltic over the Forth Bridge." I could hardly believe it, and I didn't think it was even possible. I would be going over the Forth Bridge behind a Deltic. Could anything in life possibly beat this?
Hey, would you like to ride up front?
Sorry? Up front?
Hey, Brian, we've got room for a wee hitchhiker in here.
I couldn't quite believe what I was hearing. The cab door slid open and Brian, the second man, appeared at the open cab door.
"Hey, come up, wee laddie. Major step now. Careful, major step."
I excitedly grabbed the handrails, put one foot on the cab steps, and I pulled myself up into almost like a little corridor. On my right-hand side there was a narrow door with a round window that led to the engine room. And on the left, there was the entrance to the cab.
Welcome aboard, wee laddie.
Hey, take a seat over here.
The second man showed me to his chair and stood just behind me. I sat upon the warm seat, peering through the fly-splattered windscreen over the Deltic's huge, mucky nose. Just as the red-coloured light signal at the end of the platform turned to green, the driver leant out of his cab window, looking back down the train, and my eyes darted around the cab at the various lights and dials. The last time that I was in a Deltic cab was at Doncaster Works open day in Nimbus's cab with Norman. But that cab was dead and silent, with various bits missing. This cab was warm and vibrating and very much alive. Oh my God, what about Norman? Surely he will never believe me when I tell him about this. The driver blasted the horn, released the brakes, eased the governor back, revving the mighty twin Napier engines that sat just a few feet behind the grimy grey bulkhead behind us. I couldn't help but notice how different the engine notes sounded from the confines of the cab. We slowly started to move forward and across the massive pointwork before we plunged into the darkness of Mound Tunnel as the driver fully opened up the Deltic's engines. This had to be the single most exciting moment of my entire life. We blasted out of the dark confines of the dripping damp tunnel into Princess Street Gardens cutting, passing a Class 26 going the other way with some Mark 1 coaches. The driver then shut off the power and applied the brakes. I noticed that on the grimy grey painted cab interior was the loco number 55006, painted in small white numbers just to the left of the nose entry's door, which sported another sticker that read "Caution, low headroom" upon it, and just above that was another sticker that read "Max speed 100 miles an hour." Oh yes. We briefly entered the darkness of Haymarket Tunnel before emerging out and gliding along the platform of Haymarket Station, where we came to a halt. It seemed quite surreal that a mainline train had another station stop after such a short distance. The driver looked out of the cab window back down the train before sounding the horn and releasing the brakes, and we were off again as he slowly opened up the governor, causing the Deltic engines to sing behind us. As we accelerated away from the station, to our right, the engine shed of Haymarket Depot appeared, which until last year was 55006's home depot, and I could see a white window-frame Deltic parked outside in the afternoon sun, in the company of some 26s and a 27, 2 Duffs and a 40. It was 55012, Capello. I realised that I couldn't pass by this opportunity to ask the driver about his experience with Deltics. So how long have you been driving Deltics for?
Oh, over 10 years.
Must be more like 15 though.
Oh, it must have been a while now. Because I had all my own hair when I started out on the job. Since the mid-60s, so about 15 years.
How do you find them to drive?
You can't bloody stand them.
Hey, the bloody noisy things. Very drafty.
Bloody freezing in winter.
Oh, aye. And you've got to have a wee dram to keep the cold out on a winter's night. Ain't that right, Brian?
Aye, definitely.
Aye, not like the small Sulzers. Oh, they're toasty.
Hey, but it don't stop you having a wee dram when you're driving one of those, so does it? Does it, Dom? Eh?
Too bloody right, yeah. Aye, but the power a good one of these has. My God.
So I guess you must like them then.
Of the pure thoroughbreds. Like high-performance sports cars.
Are some better than others then?
Oh, aye. Aye. In fact, this one, number 6, is one of the best. Always has been.
Really? How festive you had a Deltic up to?
Oh, I can't tell you that without my lawyer being present. Hey, Brian! Aye. Well, to be honest, you don't really get a chance to stretch onto high speed up here. Aye, it's the acceleration that gets you though, especially from about 70 miles an hour. Even with a heavy load. Bloody amazing.
Have you had many failures on Deltics?
You best ask Brian about that. Eh?
I was seated of a train heating boiler light, and I was walking down the side of one of the engines when bang! It threw a wee piston through the crankcase. It whizzed right past my head.
Really? Can you remember which Deltic it was?
Hey, it was number 8. It nearly gave me a wee shot back in sides.
I didn't think a Deltic could make it all the way from King's Cross to Aberdeen on one tank of fuel.
Oh, it can't.
What? But I thought...
Well, let's just say it's a close thing. I shall be running on fumes by Stonehaven.
Don't you worry, wee laddie. We shall make it.
Ahead of us on the skyline, I could see the huge, monumental, awe-inspiring, dark orangey brown structure of the 4th rail bridge.
Now that is some feat of engineering, isn't it? Especially for 1890 when it was first opened. It took 7 years of blood, sweat and toil and the lives of 73 good men to build that.
It was quite disorientating at first, as he seemed to be approaching it from almost a side angle, and it looked far bigger than I'd imagined from the pictures I'd seen of it. But it was an absolute colossus, like a gigantic dinosaur skeleton laid across what looked more like a sea than a river. We rounded a curve and lined up with it. As our train entered the run-up to the main bridge structure, through the Deltic windscreen, it almost seemed like we were taking off.
Do you know the story of I.G. McRae, the last man to be killed in building the bridge?
Can't say that I do.
They do say that his ghost can sometimes still be seen on the North Queensferry side of the bridge, walking the track bed, looking for the ghost of his wife, Mildred, who they do say in the midsummer morning twilight can still be seen in the moonlight in the tattered remains of her wedding dress, running over the hillside by the shore of the lake at Jamestown, still smoking her pipe.
Her pipe?
Oh yes, and they do say that you can still smell lamb cooking on the breeze coming from the railway line.
Cooking lamb?
Oh yes, because Mildred, or Mrs. McRae, as old Archie insisted on everyone calling her, well, she was different, you see.
Different? How so?
Well, she was a sheep.
A sheep? He married a pipe-smoking sheep?
Oh yes, it was quite traditional back then, especially in some of the more remote areas and in the clans.
Aye, there are long, lonely winters up here, and you need to keep warm. And what better way than taking a wee bride with a lovely, thick, warm fleece to get you through the winter?
Well, I don't know.
Aye, that's right. And eligible young women were far and few between back in those days. In fact, there's not so many of them around now, is there, Brian?
Aye, not so many.
Well, old Archie used to drink in an inn in North Queensferry called the Tatlock Arms. And he'd stagger home along trackbed with his wife.
You mean the sheep?
Yes, the sheep. Back to the little crofter's cottage where they lived at Inverkeithen. But of course, before the bridge was finished, there were no no trains, so it was okay to walk the rails. Not until, that is, 2 nights before the bridge opened, and a test train was sent over the bridge. It was a steam train, of course, and legend has it that when it hit Mildred the sheep, she was dragged underneath the train, her body trapped against the bottom of the local's furnace, and she cooked.
And they do say that to this day, as the early morning mist rises over the Forth, and if the breeze is in the right direction,
You can still catch the delicious scent of roast lamb for miles around. Hey.
oh yeah. I still don't quite know if they were winding me up or not.
Old Archie McRae worked through the night and day, building a new bridge high over the river Forth. After work he'd go for a few bivvies at the bar. He staggered home along the rails to the north, but he wouldn't get too far. Burn no matter how hard old Archie tried, he couldn't get a good woman to sit down by his side. The long winter months alone on the hills would make him weep, until he went to the farmer in the village and he married a local sheep. When the long day of work ends, old Archie would tire. Archie and Mildred would drink whiskey by the fire. They kept each other happy and warm through the dark winter nights. In summer they walked home along the rails and watched the northern lights. After 7 long years and 73 lost souls, the final girder was put into place. Archie tightened the last bolt with a tear in his eye and a smile upon his weather-worn face. Archie and Mildred walked home to their cottage on the outskirts of town. An unscheduled test train came storming round the bend and mowed the poor buggers down. Their bodies exploded, releasing their souls, but Mildred's carcass cooked on the boiler like a lamb casserole. As the mist rises from the Forth and the moonlight pales, Archie's oil lamp still lights the rusted rails. And if you take a deep breath through your nose, you must confess you can still smell the cooking lamb and see Mildred the sheep running over the hills with clinkers hanging from her wedding dress. When the long day of work ends, old Archie would tire. Archie and Mildred would drink whiskey by the fire. They kept each other happy and warm through the dark winter night. In summer they walked home along the rails and watched the northern lights.
pulled into the platform at Inverkeithing, the driver said something to me in Scottish that seemed to suggest that my ride of a lifetime was finally over, and it was time to go back to the domain of mere mortals back on the train. I disembarked from the Deltic's cab and jumped aboard the first coach, where I, of course, assumed my position at the front drop-light window. I'm sure that I actually floated down the platform at Inverkeithing onto the train. It certainly felt like I did. I decided that I'd take Deltic 6 as far as Dundee, where after I'd bailed, I'd have to phone Mother and break the news to her that I was in Dundee. And just as I thought that the rail bridges of Scotland had shown me in the most spectacular fashion all they had to offer, on the approach to Dundee, our train once more seemed to take flight over water as we rounded a tight curve and entered the 3-mile expanse of the Tay Bridge. A Scottish Deltic cranker was also in the front vestibule, said to me something in Scottish about the footings of the old Tay Bridge still being visible alongside the new one that we were on, and how that, according to legend, it is said that on the anniversary of the Tay Bridge disaster, a ghost train can be seen where the track would have once been. Then the sounds of screaming can be heard as the train disappears, plunging its passengers into the cold waters of the River Tay. Fortunately, there were no sheep involved in this particular story, and we made it over the Tay Bridge safely before finally making it back to dry land and pulling into Dundee Station. As we came to a stop in Dundee Station, I was just about to open the carriage door to alight the train when the Scottish Deltic crank mentioned something about what a wonderful noise the Deltic would make climbing up the steep incline to the north of Dundee. I couldn't resist. After all, I've come this far, and if Deltic 6 can stay on throughout, then so should I. Anyway, just how much further could Aberdeen be? I was at Edinburgh what seemed like hours ago, and the British Isles is only so long. The departure from Dundee was indeed spectacular, as Deltic 6 wheel slipped up the wet gradient out of Dundee in what was by now quite heavy rain. But it wasn't until we called at Arbroath, Montrose, Stonehaven, and after enduring a 20-minute signal check, that almost an hour and a half later, we finally pulled into Aberdeen.
I'm sorry, I can explain.
Dare I even ask where you are today?
Yes, well, about that. I don't want you to panic.
You're not in Hull, are you?
No, Mother. No, I'm not in Hull. I'm in Aberdeen.
You're in Aberdeen?
Let me bloody talk to him. Now then, what are you bloody doing in Aberdeen? I'll give you bloody Aberdeen.
Hello, Uncle Ernest. It's all right. I'm catching the next train back that leaves in an hour. I should be home by about 4 a.m.
What was I saying? Bloody 4 a.m.? Bloody 4 o'clock in the bloody morning?
Oh, the pips have gone. I'll see you later. Don't forget to leave a key out.
I'll give you a bloody leave a key out.
The local Deltic crank told me something in Scottish, which I thought was about how excited he was to see a Deltic in Aberdeen, and how Deltic 6 would be working the 16:30 back to York. So that would be my move sorted as far as York, where I would wait for the 0125 departure to King's Cross, which I would take as far as Retford. Which to my delight produced 55012 Grappello. Upon my return home, thankfully Mother had left a key out for me, but I was banned from travelling on trains for a month.
Here is a special announcement. The Deltic Basher, 1968 to 1980, terminates here. We'd like to thank you for sticking with this madness for 10 chapters. Please ensure that you take all your belongings with you. Please remain on this platform for the Deltic Basher 1980 to 1982, which is due to arrive sometime in 2026.
The 1811 for Doncaster, Selby and York is now subject to further delay due to engine failure, and this train is expected to arrive at platform 2 at approximately 18:30.